What's up, guys? Welcome to another Splitgate video. This one's going to be about the Splitgate 2 AMA Reddit, where Ian has answered some questions that people had asked in the community. And to make things a bit more neater and easier to read out, what we're going to do, we're not going to look at this Reddit page itself. Instead, if we come over here, Hawk decided to make this available on the Splitgate Discord. To me, I feel like this is much easier to read than compared to let's just find his answers on Reddit. I'm not a fan of this. I've never been a fan of the whole tree system on Reddit either. So we're gonna do it based off this instead. The only downside is that you're not gonna see the username who asked the question, but I feel like that's not too important. But yeah, let's begin reading through these. There's a total of 14 questions I saw in this AMA, and yeah, this started out 10:30 a.m. PDT. If you're in Eastern time, that would be 1:30 p.m. PDT at this time of the recording here. This was like 4 hours ago that this happened for me. So yeah, this is all brand new stuff. There might have been like some repeated questions that we've ever seen in the past. We'll see. Hopefully the questions that did get answered, there was like some new information that gets provided. But yeah, let's just go ahead and begin. So question number 1. Okay, so here's my question. The alpha seems to incorporate a lot of the same types of things that fans of the original Halo series didn't like about Reach and the 343 Halo games. Lots of extra abilities, making everything unnecessarily round-based, added safety mobility without giving the aggressive player active follow-up, and the TTK has dropped to near COD levels, like Call of Duty levels. Now, I want to be clear that I have all the faith in the world that you guys are doing everything you can to make an awesome game. But what led you to depart from the more typical bare bones Halo-esque style of SG-1 in favor of something that more closely resembles a modern class-based shooter? And was it not your intention with the original to give more traditional arena shooters fans a game they could identify with? I'm sure I'll have more fun with Splitgate SP2 once it's actually, I think he's talking about Splitgate 2, once it's actually out and we have more content, but I'm leaning towards thinking I like Splitgate 1 more. I have a lot of experience with competitive games and shooters, and Splitgate 1 felt like Halo in a way that no Halo game has felt since Bungie left Microsoft. And then Ian replied, "Thanks for the great questions and feedbacks. I'll start by answering your last question about intention. Our intention's always been to make the most fun games possible. We don't really think of things in terms of what specific genre of FPS it is. We really just want to make the best game we can and something we at 1047 and our community love to play. As for the classes and abilities comparison to Halo, I totally get where you're coming from. I love OG Halo and was also one of the people complaining when they added abilities. Although I did love Halo Reach, just not 4. I think candidly, we probably didn't exactly convey what we were trying to build very accurately, and that our trailers overemphasize the abilities, because that is some of the new stuff. Our intent with the abilities is to add the icing on the cake and to add more variety, but we still want to make a game that's all about gunplay, portals, and movement. To me, there is nothing inherently wrong with abilities if they are done right, but clearly they can definitely be done wrong, which is exactly why we are doing an alpha this early so that we can get feedback and adjust accordingly. As for TTK, we have experimented with a range of different TTKs. Internally, we were and are leaning towards a longer TTK that is closer to Splitgate 1, but for an alpha, we always lean towards testing big changes and then iterating versus players playing things safe. We would rather make big changes before launch so that we get more meaningful feedback and test more, and then get everything dialed in by launch. Thanks again for the kind words. This alpha was a very small sample of what's to come, like maybe 10%. We want to make a game for people like you and the rest of our community, and I think this will become a lot more clear as we continue to iterate based on your feedback and show more of what we have coming. So like basically from my previous video, right, when Ian did the interview with Xbox Era, he basically stated in that interview that the alpha is about experimenting, it's about testing, getting feedback about more of the controversial changes to see how people would like that, right? How would people like Hot Zone having sheer progression? They were getting feedback to see how that's like, right? And ultimately, majority of the community didn't like that, so they already made a statement that they're changing that, right? Same with TTK here. It seems like they were leaning towards more Splitgate 1 TTK, but they wanted to see how the people in the community feels about the TTK being faster. And now it seems like they're probably going to be leaning towards the TTK being closer to Splitgate 1. So their whole attention, their whole philosophy of what they want on these alphas is to test out new stuff. Like new things that people are not too well aware, but they might like it. They don't know. They need to get the feedback for that. So, yeah. Question 2. Where did Splitgate 1 fail/fall short in the devs' eyes, and how will Splitgate 2 build upon that without losing what made the first one special? It's edited because I don't want to say the first one failed. It was an amazing game, and I think a lot of people had a great time with an arena shooter with portals. Right, okay. And this is Ian's answer. Thanks for the question, and yes, to your point, Splitgate 1 did not fail. It was a big success for us when we were a very small team. We view it as a stepping stone towards our larger goals, but a stepping stone we are very proud of. That said, it's obviously did not sustain itself, and this really boils down to two major reasons. One, of course, was the servers and code base not being scalable. We were a team of 4 engineers at the time, so we really did not have the resources to handle that many players, but we also did not have things structured in a way where we could quickly iterate and pump out new content efficiently with a larger team. Our code base and workflows worked perfectly well for a small team where everyone knew everything, but we needed to refactor and start over, especially since we are also in a new engine with Unreal Engine 5 now. To be able to have 175 people working on the same game at the same time without stepping on each other's toes. The other big reason was that we did not have enough people to push meaningful updates frequently. You look at other successful free-to-play shooters, and there are always new things coming out whenever it's a new map, gun, mode, etc. And we just simply did not have the team or tech to do this. And of course, we have more coming with our live ops plan to share at a later date. But you could definitely expect a massive increase in the frequent and amount of content coming. In terms of making sure we don't lose what made Splitgate special, That's exactly what tests like this are for. We want to lead with our more controversial changes. There's that word again, controversial. Like Hot Zone being shared progression, TDK being shorter. See, that's exactly what I was saying earlier. And showcasing smaller, simpler maps. Because we wanted to see how the community will react early on so that we could adjust accordingly based on our community feedback. But also to answer your question in a different way, I think the biggest strength of Splitgate were its awesome gunplay and the amazing plays you could do with portals. So this is what we are trying to preserve in FFIs while adding an extra layer and significantly more content on top of that. Thanks for the great question. So yeah, that's he's basically just like explaining what I just said earlier, right? And he also added on that basically Splitgate 1 didn't have that big of a team. It basically started with only 2 people, eventually like 5 to like 8, right? And I believe it was still a very small team. Like I think maybe they got up to like 20 when they did the whole console release, they said. 20 people compared to all these other free-to-play competition games that have hundreds and hundreds of employees in them, it's very hard to compete with that. And they basically just said it outright that, yo, they did not have the resources, they did not have enough people to constantly punch out content after content or fixes after fixes. Not only that, but Splitgate 1 was built on a college school project. Very old project that is probably like a very spaghetti code hell for them to constantly make patches for. So I have a lot of faith that Splitgate 2 is gonna be easier for them to fix bugs. It's gonna be easier for them to produce content, which that's what Ian's leading towards with that question, right? That they have a big live ops plan going on, and we're gonna have more stuff. We're gonna have more guns, more maps, everything that you could possibly want. Alright, so are there plans to make maps with more vertically in mind? Ian says yes, and larger maps too. Ozone and Zenith are probably the smallest and least vertical maps in the game, just for perspective. So this is very nice to know, because I also agree that their maps are just, they're too flat, right? They only have like 2 like levels at most. You got like your bottom area, you got your top area, and what I really liked about Splitgate 1 was that the maps themselves has quite a bit of different layers that you can, fight from. And I really want to see more of that in Splitgate 2. Alright, so now our question. I personally don't care much about this, but I'll ask this for the benefit of those that have expressed concern over it. How much input do the investors really have on this game? Ian replied, actually, basically none, to be honest. We are lucky to have amazing investors who are in this for the long run and are very supportive in sharing our vision of remaining independent. Also, FWIW, I don't know what that means. Let me look that up real quick. Okay, so FWIW, right here. Apparently that stands for what it's worth. Okay, so he's saying, also for what it's worth, our board consists of 5 people, with 3 being members of 1047. So even if they do have input, we are still in charge. But in all honesty, they are really supportive and have been great to work with. It also helps that they're gamers themselves, so they get it. So yeah, a lot of problems with like other games, like let's take Bungie of Destiny for instance, right? Activision really messed that up at the start, right? With the whole basically charging people for more microtransactions for the game and just adding more content behind paywalls and stuff. Like that is not the way. I don't know the exact detail, but what I've heard was that basically they released a Destiny 1 DLC, or yeah, Destiny 1 DLC, but re-released it for Destiny 2, and they added a $40 price tag to it. That is freaking ridiculous. So like, bad decisions like that, it's like might not be like 100% like Bungie's fault. Like as like Activision like taking charge, be like, yeah, we're gonna do this, you know. So like that's the problem with like a lot of these game developers, right? They're locked into like not being 100% charged of their games because let's say they just do some kind of like partnership with other companies, right? And they're just, these other companies just don't get it. They're just ruining the game. So basically, whatever happens, it's all 1047, right? 1047 is doing all the heavy lifting themselves for this game. So yeah. Can we get a classic arena mode with even starts and no abilities? And Ian says, thanks for the suggestion. To be honest, we haven't decided yet on this, but it's definitely been discussed and we hear you. And we want to hear what the community has to say and continue to get feedback. Right now our focus is to test the core gameplay, get feedback, and iterate on it. That said, I always emphasize to our team that we need to be community first and listen to their players. If this is something that becomes a common request, we will act on. But again, right now, we are really just focused on testing and iterating on the core gameplay. So yeah, basically guys, if you want classic Splitgate 1, even starts, right? No abilities. Be vocal about it. Speak out. Let your voice be heard that you want that, right? If you want there to be something more classic like Splitgate 1, be vocal about it. Because more people that gets vocal about this, 1047 is going to see that, and they're probably going to put that into the game. Again, they keep talking about their community first, right? So if they are community first, they are going to request, they are going to do that for us. So just keep that in mind, guys. Keep speaking up what you want for this game. Are the developers considering reworking the announcer in Splitgate 2? I've seen a lot of feedback that players will like the old announcer or something similar to him back, as it was really fun hearing him announcing your killing sprees or double kills and all of those things in a deep and silly voice. Ian says, appreciate the question. I think our new announcers are closer to our original vision. Our vision, even Splitgate 1, was always to make a game that was positively sporty future. I'm a huge NBA fan, and my co-founder Nick loves Formula 1, so we want to bring some of that energy to our game. And I think the new announcer in our in-ear coach is a bit closer to that vision. As for the old announcer, we have considered having some customization here, as well as for hit markers. Okay, it's very interesting, but it's not something we have gotten to or committed to yet, as it would require us to re-record everything and all the new lines with the previous announcer, with who we haven't actually talked to in years, so I'm not even sure he's still doing voice work. That said, as is the case with everything, we are always listening to as much feedback as we can and acting on it. I try to always read the comments in Reddit, Discord, etc. And so if this becomes a common request, you can expect expect it to jump higher on our priority list. So, here's the thing, guys. We don't even know what Splitgate 1 announcer is. We don't even know who this actor is. This voice actor. He's never been, like, credited, really, anywhere. And they even came out that they haven't even been in contact with this voice actor for years. So, I don't know, man. The thing is, like, if they ever do bring him back, and this goes with the same with the current announcer for Splitgate 2, I don't know if they, like, for some reason don't want to be credited, but I really hope for the new game that's coming, they're gonna have somewhere in the credits that credits all the employees, all the people who worked on the game, including the announcers, because that's something. For as big of a diehard Splitgate fan I am, I would love to see who worked on what. Like, that is actually one credits scene that I would actually like to look at and see who did what, right? Like you know that feel where like you get to the end of a movie or the end of a video game and the credits roll and you're like, you just simply did not care and you just want to skip the rest of it and just call it good. Yeah, I actually want to look at the credits for Splitgate and Splitgate 2. So I really hope they bring credits for Splitgate 2 when they fully launch the game. I think that'd be very nice to have. So, question, will we be able to play natively on Steam Deck? Answer, I was always having a conversation about this. I was actually having a conversation about this 2 days ago with our lead anti-cheat engineer, Andreas. The reason this is tricky is because of a lot of the anti-cheat stuff we do is specific to Windows. It would not work or be as effective as keeping cheaters out on Linux. That said, it is something that is important to us, and we are actively discussing options because we definitely want to be on Steam Deck and on Linux in general. Can't 100% guarantee yet, but it is actively being discussed now, and we have a lot of Steam Deck users in our company who also want this. So I don't know much about Steam Deck. The only thing I know about Steam Deck is that it's a portable device, kind of like a Game Boy or a DS, or like a Switch in portable mode, right? It's the Switch in portable mode, right? Basically, but for Steam. So like anything you have downloaded on Steam. Not every game is supported on Steam, but everything on Steam, it's basically like you play on this portable device. But again, not everything. Just the games that are supported on Steam Deck. Alright, question. Will fun party game modes be returning like Teabag Affirm and such? I think we probably gave a false impression that we are prioritizing esports and competitive play or casual experience. This is not the case. We definitely plan to add all sorts of fun party game modes like we had in Splitgate. Can't share specifics yet, but just know that party modes and more casual experience are a top priority for us. But for our first alpha demo, we wanted to focus on getting feedback on our core gameplay. Alright, so yeah, there you have it, guys. It's not just going to be all competitive and sweaty, try-hard games. There's going to be some fun, like, goofy game modes in the future. Howdy! It looks like Splitgate 2 is greatly expanded on the lore of Splitgate universe. Is the team working to tie elements of Splitgate 1 into the lore and give its greater content? Or are you more starting from scratch? How do you decide what to include and what to ignore? Thanks. Great question. Lore wasn't really a priority in Splitgate 1 because we didn't have the resources. That said, we always wanted the Splitgate universe to be a positive, sporty future, and that is no different in Splitgate 2. One fun idea we had on how to tie in Splitgate 1 to Splitgate 2 universe is that Splitgate 1 is a video game in the Splitgate 2 universe. So yeah, that is a... This is an idea, right? This is an idea, and this is not yet confirmed that this is the case. So there was a... Have you guys watched the... what was it, like the alpha... It was like the alpha trailer... Not the alpha trailer, it was the alpha gameplay Twitch stream that they did. Ian basically answered it with this question, too. And, like, he stated that, like, this is, like, his idea he had in mind. It's like, what if Splitgate 1 was a video game Splitgate 2? So, even though, like, this is Ian's idea, right? It's not exactly confirmed yet that this is, like, actually the case for the Splitgate lore. Alright, question. Do we have any plans for a Linux native build, or even allowing Linux through Proton for future beta / full release? Thanks, love the game, and I look forward to playing Splitgate 2. And yeah, Ian said he answered the Steam Deck vividly above, but the TLDR, which also applies to Linux, is that we want to support Linux at some point, and that's the tricky part, is making anti-cheat work for it as well. Keeping cheaters out is a huge priority for us, but we also have a lot of Linux users in our company and community, so we are actively discussing options. Thanks for the questions. The more often we hear about this, the more likely it'll happen sooner. Question: Taco Bell or Chipotle? Ian says yes. Are you going to give Splitgate 1 the Overwatch treatment and take it offline when Splitgate 2 launches? Ian answered, to be honest, this is still to be determined. It will certainly be live through the remaining of the year at a bare minimum, but this is a lot trickier than just a yes or no. While there is a cost to leaving it up, there's also a lot more to it. There are reliance on third parties that need to be maintained or could break the game. There are also security implications. When we aren't actively supporting it, it's on an old code base. And lastly, there are contract implications with having Splitgate 1 and 2 live simultaneously with our various licenses, like with Unreal, Sony, Xbox, etc. We want to support it as long as possible if there's a demand for it, but it is a lot more complicated than just leaving it on or taking it off to save some money. I wish I could give a more concrete answer, but this is a problem for a future me to figure out, and there are things outside of our control that impacts this. So this is how I vision for the future Splitgate 1 once Splitgate 2 is out. I want them to basically keep Splitgate 1 alive, but not necessarily just having quick play around. So quick play and rank is not gonna be around anymore, right? This is how I see the future Splitgate 1. Rank playlists and quick play is no longer gonna be a thing. However, they're gonna have map builder, they're gonna have races, they're gonna have custom map creators still around. And so like those three there, right? Custom maps, the custom map builder, customs, and races. Those three, I see that those three could probably stay, right? Because they don't rely too much on a server itself. It's like there's just many hosting lobbies, right? That I feel like uses up way less resources for them than having a public server that's constantly active. You know what I mean? So I feel like they could maybe keep Splitgate 1 alive, and at least I hope for, at the very least, that they will for us map builders, because like not being able to play those maps again anymore was really suck, or sharing those maps out will also really suck, right? and you know, people are gonna like be nostalgic. There are people that's gonna be nostalgic for Splitgate 1 every now and then, so they're gonna want to like host custom lobbies even for like the original maps or in the original game modes. So I really hope they keep that intact in some way through like customs or something. Question: is custom map creation a high priority after observing its impact on Splitgate 1? And Ian says, not able to share anything yet, but I do love Forge and the Splitgate map creator. That I hate this answer, man. Just tell us, man. Just let us know, man. Is map creator coming to Splitgate 2? I really just come on, man. Just give us that at some point, like please, in the near future. Just straight up answer this question, not do this. But all right, so here's another question. Part of what made the original Splitgate so good was its map designs, especially the verticality and placements of portal walls. This is ultimately what made the game stand out as something more than a generic arena shooter. The current map design, as many as put, it seems to lack these two crucial features and can be easily played without use of portals at all. Are there plans for future maps to remedy these issues? Also, how high a priority is custom map creation in Splitgate 2? Will it be a Forge-esque map maker, or will there possibly be an internal editor we can use? Bonus question: will there be crosshair options like the first Splitgate, or a more modern crosshair factory? I, for one, am particularly anal about FPS games with bad crosshairs, to the point I won't play them if I can't edit or change crosshairs if they're bad. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. Alright, Ian says, thanks for the awesome questions. Thank you. I made those maps, so I appreciate the kind words about them. We definitely plan to have maps with more verticality and more portal opportunities. I think what we're trying to avoid this time around is situations like Oasis, where you can camp behind a portal the entire game and see the entire map. We want it to be fun to play while you're still learning the portals, but still maintaining a super high skill ceiling and opportunity for creative expressions through awesome portal plays while mastering the portals. I think the maps in our alpha demo play it safer portal-wise than many of the future maps that are coming. Ozone and Zenith are two of the smallest maps in the game, by the way, which is exactly why we include them, so that we could get feedback on the more controversial changes early. While I do still enjoy those maps, and there are lots of triple portal opportunities, I also see that they are not as crazy and vertical as some of the Splitgate 1 maps. I think you'll like what we got coming. This is not even 10% of the game, but definitely let us know and keep the feedback coming. Not able to share anything yet, but I do love Forge and Splitgate map. God damn it, Cardinal. Working on it, hopefully to get it by launch. This is about the crosshair. But right now, the priority is getting feedback on our core gameplay. And if you have any feedback on our default crosshairs or what you would like to see in custom crosshairs, let us know. And this is their final message. This is Ian's final message. We are out of time, but thank you for all the great questions. We are creating a game for you guys, our community, and we appreciate all the time you spent helping us create a better game. We definitely plan to do this again. In the meantime, please keep the questions and feedback coming. I try to get to as much as possible and tackle all the questions with lots of upvotes, but apologies if I didn't get to your question. Even if I'm not able to respond to everything though, I spent a lot of time reading everything, so there's a good chance I will see it. The alpha demo has been a very small sample of what's to come, like less than 10% of the final game, but it was a great start for us to get early feedback, and it was extremely helpful. Lots more to come, so keep the feedback coming. Thank you. So yeah, there you guys have it. That is the Reddit AMA. I don't know why I didn't know what AMA stands for yesterday, but it's very obvious to me like later today. It stands for Ask Me Everything, right? But yeah, so basically the reason why Splitgate 2, it's kind of like, it's pretty risky if you ask me than doing it like this, but I see where they're coming from, right? The alpha for Splitgate 2, they planned it to have a lot of controversial things in it at right off the bat, right? Because they want to get feedback on it. They want to see how people feel about that. It's not going to be the main core of the game, though, right? So it can also mislead people thinking this is what Splitgate's going to be in the future. And, like, I don't know. I think it's a smart plan, and I also think it's not a smart plan. You know what I mean? So it's like, I do appreciate that they want to like try to get the good controversial stuff out of the way first, right? And let us test that and let us give them feedback for that. And they are basically communicating with that feedback that we're giving them, and they're delivering whatever is asked of us. I mean, not like everything we are asking gets like delivered, but basically, like, for start, they're not making hot zone, share progression. They're experimenting, tweaking TTK, where it's not going to be so quick. And with the maps Ozone, Zenith being the smallest maps, and the 3 maps we got are not as vertically built, right? They're like more flat. Ian has confirmed that these maps are their most like controversial maps they felt that they wanted to put in the playtest. These maps are not the most vertically. They're also the smallest maps, right? So, yeah, I don't know. It's just like, you put a lot of these controversial stuff together, it gives that, like, illusion that, like, yo, this is what the game is going to be about. This is the main core of the game. What this game's going to be. All round base, all sheer progression of hill. These maps are going to be flat. It gives off that impression, right? And Ian, it's basically stating, no, this is alpha. We're testing these out. We're getting feedback from you. So yeah, there you have it. So yeah, that is the end of the Reddit AMA. And next video, I'm actually gonna give my thoughts about the game finally. This video has been long enough, so I'm gonna cut it short here. Well, it's shorter, right? And I'll see you guys in the next video.